Senator Josh Hawley hopes his book brings renewed attention to the negative impacts of big tech, from monitoring young children to influencing elections worldwide.
This really started for me as a parent.
That's when Hawley realized these companies were tracking his kids and millions more.
These companies were following around the kids online and building profiles of them. And so that really led to me to getting interested in this.
As Missouri Attorney General at the time, Hawley led the charge by filing antitrust investigations against both Facebook and Google, which he says has expanded to include similar suits in all 50 states.
I think at the end of the day, monopoly power is always bad for liberty. Monopoly power is bad for free speech. And these companies have unprecedented power over speech, over our lives. And we've got to reclaim that power for us as individuals and as families.
Now a U.S. Senator, Hawley is fighting big tech on a federal level.
I think from a political point of view, we have to break these companies up.
Laying out the case in his new book, Hawley exposes his alarming discoveries.
I think they absolutely are swaying votes.
And points to why he believes big tech companies influence millions of voters, citing Hill testimony from people such as Dr. Robert Epstein.
In 2016, Google's search algorithm likely impacted undecided voters in a way that shifted at least 2.6 million votes to Hillary Clinton, whom I supported.
Epstein warned Congress that companies like Google have likely been determining the outcome of 25% of national elections worldwide since at least 2015.
Dr. Epstein, he walked through experiments that he did, analysis that he did, where he took the autocomplete suggestions on Google and just showed that in the 2016 presidential election, for instance, that if you typed in Hillary Clinton's name, the autocomplete suggestions were overwhelmingly positive. If you typed in Donald Trump's name, they were overwhelmingly negative.
Hawley also writes about a 2019 meeting with Mark Zuckerberg, where the Facebook founder and CEO apologized for censoring the pro-life group Live Action.
Currently, if that happens to you, if that happens to a Christian pro-life group, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you can ask Facebook to change their mind. You can beg them, but you don't have any rights you can enforce against them.
And from his standpoint, the tech giant has yet to make any significant change in providing accountability.
I think we ought to allow people to go to court, have their day in court. And if the companies can really defend it, if they have a good explanation, if they've followed their own terms and procedures, then they'll be fine. But if they really have singled out conservatives or people of faith, then there's going to be a problem.
Hawley believes power is in the wrong hands when companies like Facebook and Twitter police free speech in America, such as censoring people like former President Donald Trump.
The only reason people care is because Facebook is so powerful. Listen, if Facebook had a lot of competitors, then President Trump could just go to a competitor platform and say, all right, fine, forget you, Facebook. I'll go over here to this platform. The whole point is Facebook doesn't have any real competitors in the social media space. So what they do really matters because they're the only game in town for all intents and purposes.
On the Hill, is there bipartisan support for taking action to break up these tech companies?
I think there could be. I think there should be. I think that breaking them up is where we ought to come together.
Until then, he encourages individuals and families to commit to cutting back on social media while taking a closer look at protecting their privacy.
Try to take all the steps that you can to limit the amount of information that you're voluntarily giving over to these companies. And that means spending less time online. It also means being sure to use browsers, for instance, that will help keep your data as private as possible.
Hawley believes real change is up to the voters and can only happen when they decide to stop allowing big tech to raise their kids and run their government. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.